Hey guys. Okay, today I'm just going to do a quick video, hopefully it's going to be quick, on varnishing, making your paintings shiny, if you like shiny. I know some people, I read comments on all the other videos, and some people like the super shiny and some people like it to be more dull, and I understand, when you put it up on the wall, if you've got a window coming through or like a really strong overhead light, it might put a reflection on there. So, I haven't used any of the duller finishes. I haven't used all I use is the super shiny stuff. So, if you don't like super shiny, try the not super shiny. But I have 4 things here that I've tried, and I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up on what these 4 do, because a lot of people use different things, and everybody's asking questions. Well, what should we use for this? What should we use for that? But at some point you just kind of go with your gut and decide what you like the best, depending on what the qualities of them are. Like the polycrylic is what I use a lot. There's only one bad thing I have discovered with the polycrylic, and I know some other people know this too. 9 times out of 10, I get a beautiful, perfect, wonderful finish. Like this one here, it turned out really well. You can see the white through here is still white. Although, the colors are pretty, the pink is still pretty, the blue is still pretty, the green is vibrant, the white especially. But every once in a while, maybe, one painting out of 10, I'll get this happening. And I'm not even for certain on this painting, but I'm kind of sure. You get a little bit, I don't know if you can see this here, right in through there. It kind of looks a little dull, maybe a hint, kind of tannish looking. Sometimes your yellow will do that, just barely. Like I said, on 1 out of every 10 or every 20 paintings. And then the white, in a few spots, might do that. Obviously, it doesn't do it everywhere. But, if you're willing to take that risk for this kind of finish on a painting that may or may not be a masterpiece, use the polycrylic. I love the polycrylic. It puts a real, it's still nice and flexible. You can kind of see it goes up and down. And it's super shiny for the, the clear gloss. And it puts a real, you can feel it's a real soft finish. You don't really feel a lot of the texture of your paint. You can kind of feel the divots, but, and another good thing about this is I've discovered a lot of people have to wash their silicone off of their paintings, but with this polyacrylic, I've discovered I don't have to wash my silicone off, which is a huge plus, because that's like the worst part of the entire painting process. It's having to wash that silicone off. It's just tedious, and you know what? If I don't have to do it, I don't want to do it. So that's one good thing about the polycrylic, is that the silicone doesn't come through the finish. The finish can finish over the silicone. You can kind of see it, like if you do a painting with just one coating on it, you can kind of see the areas where the finish is a little duller, where you can see the silicone. But you put another coating over there, and it pretty much goes away. And even if you can't see it, it's just like a hint of it, but it's still shiny. So, I think even if you can kind of see it just a little bit, it kind of gives your painting character. So, I like the polycrylic. I'll show you in a few minutes how I put mine on. I've seen some people put it on and go, man, this is terrible. I'm seeing all these brush strokes. Well, let me tell you something. When I first started this, I had brush strokes in all of them. It's just a matter of practice and a matter of figuring out, what goes well for you. And, if you're in a freezing cold basement, or you're, out on your front porch in the hot summer, you're gonna have different problems. So, if you like the way it finishes 90%, and then like there's 10% you got a problem with it, keep trying it. You do a couple of your throwaway canvases, because I know we all have them. And give them a try. So this is that one little area right there is kind of tinged. But you know what? Somebody that walks up to my painting and takes a look at that, it's not going to have any clue that is not supposed to be that color. They're not going to have any clue unless you say, oh yeah, I'm going to give you $5 off that painting because that little area turned brown. So, you can either live with it or you can't. If you can't live with the possibility that it may or may not happen, because like this one, Thank goodness it didn't happen with this one because I love this painting. Nothing. I've looked at this whole thing and it's all exactly the same color as when I started varnishing it. So that's one good thing about the polycrylic is it's a nice soft finish to it. Now the triple thick here, this is it's actually kind of neat. A lot of people used it for the first time on this, whatever beautiful painting they worked on, and yeah, it cracked. So I don't know if you can see this. It's actually kind of awesome. It gives you this crackle effect that you didn't mean to have. So I'm going to kind of turn it like this, and I'm hoping that the light's going to catch it, or you can kind of see it's kind of crackly. And that might be a really cool effect on some of your paintings. You may not want it on anything. So if you don't want it on anything, you can use this. If you do the first coat straight out of the bottle like this, it's going to crack. It's going to. That's all there is to it. You can water down your first layer and it's not supposed to crack. I didn't try it after this one because in the beginning I didn't like that crackle effect, but I'm kind of digging it now. So I might actually do a few paintings that way. So thin down your first coat with water pretty good. Let it dry real good, and then you can do another coat as thick. There's also a bigger container of this, and supposedly that's not supposed to crack the first time. So if you want to get a bigger container of it and try it that way, like I said, try it on something. I didn't really care for this little bitty painting here, so I thought this is the perfect thing to try it out on. Now it does give this really nice finish that I ended up doing another coating over it, so you can't really feel the crackling. But I don't know, it's not quite as soft as the Minwax to me, but it's still, I like the little crackle effect. So you want a crackle effect, try this, undiluted the first go around. Resin, a lot of people are doing resin. You'll have to forgive me, this is not a real pretty painting. This is one of the ones that I did in the very, very beginning when I was first learning. So as you can see, there are no cells. But you can see, it's still, it's a firmer, you can hear it. You tap on these, not quite the same. That has more give. So with the resin, it gives a harder finish. Yeah, don't look at my sides because they're, really bad. Resin is fun, but it's also a sticky mess. You see on the back side, I have all these lumps because they dripped. And you can go back, I probably went back to this 10 times and wiped off all the drips, and I still ended up with drips. So, if you don't want to deal with all this messy, sticky dripping, don't use the resin. But it is fun to work with, and it does leave a really nice sort of quality gallery type finish to it. And you can mix it with your paints. I know. I haven't done any more resin painting because it's just a sticky mess. You really have to do it either outside or in a really well ventilated area. With this Minwax polycrylic, you can do that in your kitchen and it really doesn't smell that much. Just leave some windows open, leave the front door open. If you live in a really super nice neighborhood. If you don't live in a nice neighborhood, don't leave your front door open. But I like the resin. It leaves a really sort of, it's smooth. It's very smooth. You don't feel any of the texture. You don't see the texture from the canvas when you pour it over. I don't see any texture from canvas. So, I like that kind of finish too. But it's a little more work than, say, the polyacrylic or the triple thick or this next one. But, if you like playing outside, it's fun. So you can try that on just a throwaway canvas. This last one that I've tried is the Rust-Oleum American Accents 2x Ultra Cover. This one actually says that it's non-yellowing and UV resistant. Now, I don't know about these other products. I went on the Minwax website. I could not find anywhere where it says that this is UV resistant. And I'm kind of thinking it's not, because this one is specifically, it says that it's specifically for indoor furniture or whatever you want to put it on. And in the one that says that it's specifically for outdoors, it said that it keeps things from fading. So I'm thinking that this is probably not UV resistant. So hopefully, people aren't gonna put your painting right in the middle of a living room window. But if you want your painting color to last, obviously you need to be using, you know, better paint, paint that is you know, light, what is it, light fast, with the, I know with the, shoot, I can't think, the Artist Loft paints, they tell you on the side what the number of light fastness is. Now, if you get a 1 or a 2, that's pretty good. 1 is the best number. It goes from 1 to 5, the rating system is. There's 2 different rating systems, but the rating system that Artist Loft, for instance, uses is the 1 to 5. And if you get one that says 1 or 2, you're pretty good. Your color is supposed to stay for a really long time. It's supposed to be permanent. And if you're looking at a paint that says light fastness 3, 4, or 5, then you're probably not going to want to use it if you want your painting colors to last. 1 is excellent, 2 is pretty good, 3 is fair to fade. So I don't even want to know what 4 and 5 do. You know, you probably put up in your living room, 30 days later it's going to be all pale and so anyway, I kind of went off on a tangent there. But anyway, I just tried this yesterday for the first time because I saw it on somebody else's site. And at first, I kind of didn't like it when I first used it. Because for one thing, it smells to high heaven. So you definitely have to go outside with this. No spraying this in the house. Please don't do that. You know, if you want animals you'd like not to pass out, your kids, you know, complaining of headaches, please take this stuff outside. It really does. It smells a lot. And get it far from your house because even if you're outside, it's still going to come to the house. But it is very fast drying. Like I said, it is non-yellowing and it is UV resistant. So it's kind of funny when I see the UV resistant thing. I think of this comment that somebody left for me one time. I left a comment on somebody's site and asked if the materials they were using were archival, you know, so were they going to last? And the comment made back to me was, well, our paintings will end up in the closet when somebody decides to change their furniture, their couch colors. So, so you may or may not need your colors to last forever because apparently, you know, it's going to be out in that living room for about a year and then somebody's going to get bored with the colors and change their whole decor and your painting's going in the closet. But I really hope not. I hope that's not true. It's a little sad to hear something like that. But it was funny, but it was a little sad, you know. So I think about that every time I see the UV resistant on anything. So I think, okay, well, I'd like, you know, people to keep my paintings for a while. So I'm seriously thinking about changing to this unless I see something else that I like better, just because this is the only product I see that says UV resistant so far. And what it does, it feels like a much thinner coating, because when you spray it on them, you can see how thin the coating is. And this is probably, I want to say this was at least 3 or 4 coats. And I don't know if you can see. Let's see if I can. The thing about this is that you can, let's put these together and move them around. I don't know if you can see this or not, but the one on the right, the blues, you can see the texture a lot more than you can see the texture in the one in this one. This is like I said, 3 or 4 coats of the Rust-Oleum clear gloss, and you can feel a difference. This one, you can feel the texture. It feels thinner as opposed to the one with the Minwax polycrylic on it. But I don't know. You know, it says if it's non-yellowing, I'm kind of thinking I might want to switch to it because, you know, some of these paintings we're cracking out now, y'all, you want to save that white in there, especially when you get white, because I don't get white all that often. So this is the new stuff, and I'm thinking about doing some paintings with this. Do a few more. The only thing I noticed is that I looked at it with a magnifying glass and I see a lot of little air bubbles, and I'm not sure why. I don't know if I did this outside, the wind was kind of blowing. Actually, my dog knocked off this plank of filthy board that was sitting up on the bricks and kicked up dust everywhere, and I thought, oh no, ruined the whole painting. But it actually didn't. I don't see any dust on there, but I do see I do see some air bubbles, little tiny bits with the magnifying glass. And that might be what I'm feeling other than the, you know, the texture of the canvas. So I don't know. I think maybe when I do a frosting coat over it, maybe I'll take the, it's probably not flammable. It's probably very flammable, so I'm not going to take the torch to it. The polyacrylic, I will take the torch to it. I'll show you that in a minute, and I'll explain why I do it. But I don't see anywhere where the silicone has come to the surface on this one either. So this might, you know, I might not have to wash my canvases with this either, because I really don't see any silicone spots. I don't feel anywhere where, you know, it may feel greasy or it feels different because the silicone, you know, kind of got the spray off of it. I don't know. But, I mean, it seems to work pretty well. It's a thin coat. And, you know, if you want to try this, give this a try. But wear a face mask, because, or at least, you know, pull your shirt up over your nose, because this stuff is awful. It works great for spraying, but man, it smells. So you know it's probably killing a few brain cells. So just be careful with that. One other thing I wanted to point out with this polyacrylic, if you don't use your brush, you don't have a good brush, or you don't use your brush correctly, you might end up with patches. If you just want to do one coat, you might end up with patches. I don't know if you can see this or not. It's really dull right here. It's because I didn't get my polyacrylic all the way to the corners, because I was new and trying this, you know, for the first time. Plus I've got what looks like these huge gouges. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's like a stripe through there. And that is because my paintbrush had a parting in the bristles. And so it made this dent through there. So, you know, I'm going to have to sand this whole thing down and recoat it. So just be careful, you know, when you're doing it. But I did figure out how to fix that problem as I'm working with it. So, okay, so I just wanted to show you some of the paintings that we have finished, just so you can see, you know, that they did turn out like I painted them. You see how they look when they're finished. That one turned out pretty. And then we got the grays, that dark gray and the light gray, and let's see, it's got a nice shiny coat to it, and you don't see any silicone coming to the surface. This has just got one layer of polyacrylic. Some of them I will do 2 layers, because every once in a while I'll see like a little spot or something, or like a brush stroke, and I want to put another layer on. But you can actually kind of, I don't know if you can really pick this up, but where some of these cells are, it's kind of neat. You can kind of get just a little bit of the dent from the cells as texture. You know, makes it look like it's a real painting. And then this one turned out pretty. I was actually a little worried about it when I had it sitting over here drying, because it turned really dull. The gray was just kind of washed out, and it wasn't real pretty. But then I put the polyacrylic on it, and it really brought that dark gray out. It turned out cool. And this one, I'm not entirely sure if I did this on video or not, but I wanted to show you this black right here is the jet black from, it's the Walmart brand, Apple, it's not Apple Bottom, shoot, Apple whatever, you guys know what I mean. Apple Barrel. This is the Apple Barrel Jet Black, and it is, obviously, it's a transparent black. It's not an opaque black, because it frames everything really beautifully. I love it. So if you want this kind of result, use this Wild Iris. I think is a transparent color, but this turquoise is an opaque, and I want to say this green is an opaque. So if you want to look like this, try using that Jet Black from Walmart, that cheap stuff, because it's kind of cool. And then that one, the colors turned out real bright. That pink really came out once you painted it on. So that one turned out pretty. And this one, I don't think I did a video on this one, but it turned out cool, so I wanted to show you. This is actually one of those where I painted it, and I was trying to have like white sort of negative space through here, and I really didn't like it. It had some pretty areas, and then it didn't have some pretty areas. So what I did was I plopped it down like this, mashed it a little bit, yanked it up, and this is what happened. And I was just totally excited because it turned out pretty cool. I couldn't do it again to save my life, but every once in a while, you know, you do something that you just got to stand back and stare at and say, yep, that's pretty awesome. I did a good job on that one. All right, so let's get to the varnishing. Always make sure, we're going to use the polyacrylic today because I don't want to do resin. That takes too long, and I have to do that outside. I don't want to do the triple thick I'm not in the mood to crackle today. So we're going to do the polycrylic, and we'll do this another day. But I don't think y'all need a tutorial on how to spray this. Read the back, read the instructions, and light spray, that's all it takes. And another thing with this polycrylic stuff, it tells you that you can recoat within 2 hours. But if you want to do a second layer, what I suggest is, I usually have this whole table covered in paintings, and I do like all my paintings at one time. So what I would suggest is you go one by one by one. So once you get down to, like, say number 10 over here, go back to the first one and see if it needs a second coat. And if it does, it's probably still going to be a hint tacky. To me, that seems like the perfect time to recoat it, because if you leave it dry and you then after 2 hours, you're supposed to sand it. But if you just wait till it's just tacky, it will hold the second coat of polycrylic, and that way you don't have to wait 2 hours and you don't have to sand it. So just a little tip that I use. You don't have to do it that way. You can follow the directions perfectly. I don't want to be responsible for anybody messing up their beautiful artwork. So here's that day. Look at that. What is that? That is a cup of soapy water. You always want to have that ready to go before you even start opening this can, because these little paint sticks, they're awesome. But you know what? The big box stores are actually starting to sell these instead of giving them away free with a gallon of paint. So if you want to save this stick, once you're done stirring this up, and you need to stir, do not shake this. You'll shake so many air bubbles into it. It's not even funny. The container even says don't shake it. The website says don't shake it. It says always stir. So use one of these paint sticks, and as soon as you're done stirring it, scrape it off, put it in there, and you can reuse it like a million times. That way you don't have to throw it away. Have your trusty little paint can opener. It works perfect with these things, instead of using like a screwdriver or something that's going to fly out of your hand and stab you in the eye. Paintbrush has to be a, it doesn't have to be. I've noticed that with these, you can kind of see these bristles right here. If they go off to the side, cut them off, because they'll drag through your painting and make lines. So cut those off before you start. I cut off a bunch yesterday, so I'm not going to cut that one, but, you don't want to use any natural brushes. Always synthetic, because with this stuff, the natural brush will get destroyed. This is just a 2-inch brush, and it works pretty well. So, onward. Alright, let's see. We are going to do, I'm going to take a chance on this one, and acrylic this one. Even though it's got a little bit of white in it, it's mostly yellow, so if some of that turns yellow, nobody will ever know, right? Okay, just checking to make sure I'm in the frame here. Let's move some of this stuff out of the way. I don't want to put any of this stuff, I don't want to get it on the paintings that I've already done. So we'll move everything out of the way. Another thing, another caveat of the polyacrylic, and what I mean by caveat is not a good thing, unfortunately, is that when you store your paintings, when they're all done, they're all beautiful and covered, you store them face to face like this, they don't get dents in the canvas, but what they do is they stick together. Something awful. So when you pull it apart, you're going to get these little pieces that have just been ripped from your poor painting. And there's no going back from that. You can't fix that. You can put another coating over that, but it's you're still going to see the damage. So don't store them stuck together. Now, I don't know. I asked the person who was using this if they ever had a problem with their paintings sticking together, and they said they never had a problem with it, but I don't know how they store their paintings. So one thing you can do with these, if you like using the polyacrylic and you want to store them stuck together, wax paper. It's awesome. Just put a piece of wax paper between them and they won't stick together. So let's get moving here. We'll open our can of polyacrylic, and I'll just show you real quick how I varnish my paintings when I'm using this polyacrylic stuff. I know a lot of people having a little bit of trouble. I had trouble to begin with too. Sometimes you just got to do it and learn from whatever you did. So use your crummy paintings, and you know, until you find something you like. And I always leave the little push pins in there until I'm completely done with the painting, because you can hold the push pins, and that way you don't, you know, you're not dropping your painting all over the place. Although I have dropped one or two of them, but it does make it a little easier. And just always do the sides first. You know, nice. You got to watch the corners, because it'll pile up in the corners and then it'll drip down the. And you want to just catch that corner, the top, because you don't want it to sit there and dry, because this stuff dries super fast. Just kind of brush it on there. You don't have to be as perfect with the sides, because for some reason, you know, they just settle easily. You don't, I never see any brush strokes in the sides of my paintings. I wish I could do it this fast on the front and not have to worry about brush strokes. But, you know, that's just the way life goes. So, catch that. And then you're going to do this side. And it kind of instantly, it leaves a milky finish. It's supposed to look like that, but trust me, it'll dry completely clear and pretty. Okay, so we've got that. So then what I do is I just hold the middle of my canvas. I always end up with clear coat finish all down my arm right here, because corners always touch me. But I'm going to get quite a bit on my brush, about like that. You really want it. People say do a real thin coat to begin with, but if you do it too thin, you're going to see the brush strokes with this. At least with the kind of brush, you know, a lot of these brushes that you're going to use. So kind of put it on real lightly. You're kind of dragging it across the top real lightly. And you got to watch the corners, because with the canvas, the board, it holds, the canvas goes, kind of dips in. So if you don't get these edges, you're just going to miss them. So I like to do, you know, like the top fourth of it. Make sure I get it. See, I missed it in this corner. I don't know if you can see that where it's not shiny. So go back and real lightly. You want it to look kind of milky. Then I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to do this other side. So we're just going to kind of go back and forth until I've covered the whole thing. Make sure you get this spot right in here. And occasionally take a look at your side there, because the drips will go down from that first. Then take your brush real lightly across the top, real lightly. You're still going to see brush strokes at this point. But just hold on a minute and I'll show you how I get rid of those. Like I said, just, you know, real thin coat. But not terribly thin, not where you're like really mashing the brush into your canvas. You want it just to skim the top of your canvas. Always check with the light, make sure you got that corner. See, I missed that right there. And we're going to go to the other side, get that done real quick. Well, you can kind of see how much I'm putting on there. You don't want to see big milky streaks in it, but you do want to see. Okay, and then I want to go back over real super lightly, go back over it. I'm going to take my brush, because you can kind of see where it's dripping here, along all four edges. Alright, now, what I'm going to do, if I can find it, of course, what am I going to do with it? I'm going to take my torch, because I think this kind of makes some bubbles as you're brushing. I like to get rid of the bubbles. But the major thing this does is it heats up that Minwax just a little bit, and it'll spread it out just a little bit. That's all it takes. And I don't know if you can see it now, but now you have this smooth finish on there that you didn't have a minute or two ago with your brush. So this should, when it dries, I should not need to put, I don't see any, always check these edges once you're all done. Because you really don't want to have to go back and rebrush it even a minute or two from now, because it's already getting tacky. And then you start rebrushing it, and it's going to leave brush strokes. So put a thicker layer on than you think, but you know, you got to fuss with it. You got to figure it out. You don't want too thick of a coat, otherwise it'll dry, and it actually will dry. If your coating is too thick, this might crack. So try that, and you know, let it sit here for probably half an hour to an hour, and go back and kind of touch the sides. The sides always dry first, so kind of touch the side. If the side is dry but a hint tacky, and you decide you want to put a second coat on there, because a second coat will smooth it out a little bit more. make it almost like resin, but not quite. It's not quite as smooth looking, but it is almost. So check the sides, and you know, if they're dry but tacky, that's a good time to go ahead and do a second coat. And you're going to want to do it in the opposite direction that you did. Just in case you've got some brush strokes, you'll cover them up by going the opposite direction. So that is my sort of amateur tutorial here on covering your canvas to make it look shiny. And you know, if you have any questions, feel free, and go out and experiment. You know, make some. You know, if you got some bum paintings lying around, go out and try it. Try at least 2 or 3 different coatings before you settle on one, unless you just so love one to start off with, because they give you different effects. You know, like I said, with this triple thick, it's not supposed to crack, but the website will tell you that if you put the coating on too thick, it will crack. So, you know what I didn't do? I did not stir my polycrylic. So, but I did stir it earlier today, so it should be fine, because I just varnished a bunch of paintings. So don't forget to you know, stir your polycrylic. But I'm going to take my paintbrush and I'm going to put it into my soapy water so that my bristles will be saved. Make sure you get all of that out. Really, really wash it good in warm soapy water, because if you leave it in there, it ruins your brush, and then it'll seriously put brush strokes into your next painting. So, you know, work really hard at keeping your brushes clean, because that's important too. When you snap this down, don't snap it down with any other paintings around, because you see how there's a little bit of stuff in there. You snap this down, and some of that will go shooting out, and then you'll have polycrylic blobs on your painting. So, I want to thank everybody for watching me today, and if you are not already subscribed to my channel, just head on down to the bottom of the video there where it says subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, and you know, travel east, hit that little like button for me if you like what you've seen. If I've helped in any way whatsoever, I hope that you go out and make some awesome art. And I hope I've helped in some way. So, you know, let me know how your painting is going. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you to all my subscribers that I have at the moment. Yeah, have an awesome afternoon or night, morning, wherever you are on the planet. And see you later. Bye.